Have you ever really stopped to think about what happens when you disappear from someone's life? And I don't mean pulling back a little. I'm not talking about sending fewer texts or slowing down the calls. No, I mean completely gone. Silent. No texts, no calls, no social media, no presence, nothing. What do they actually feel when you vanish? In the world we live in today, people have become so used to thinking they can treat others however they want. Like you'll always be there no matter what. They get comfortable, they take you for granted. But here's where it gets interesting. When you suddenly disappear, when you remove yourself without warning, you flip the script on them. You take away the very thing they thought they'd never lose. And that's when everything in their world starts to unravel. This is, without question, one of the most important videos you'll ever watch, especially if you've ever been in a relationship, a situationship, or even a friendship where someone started to see you as nothing more than an option. Because today, we're going to break down a powerful reality. What they truly feel when you simply vanish from their life. We're not just scratching the surface. I'm going to walk you through 10 intense emotional stages they will go through when you disappear. And let me tell you, by the end, you'll understand why sometimes the strongest, most life-changing thing you can do is walk away without ever looking back. If you're ready to reclaim your worth, if you're ready to make them feel your absence in a way they've never felt before, drop a comment right now that says, "I'm done being an option." Because by the end of this, that's exactly what you'll be. You'll never again be somebody's backup plan. And listen carefully. Stick around until the very end, because there's a bonus 10th emotional stage I'll reveal. One they absolutely won't see coming, and one you definitely don't want to miss. All right, let's get into it. Stage 1, the sting of rejection. This is the beginning of their downfall, the very first wave that hits them. See, they never thought you'd actually leave. Not really. In their mind, you were always going to be there. The one who put in the effort, the one who cared, the one who made things happen. You were reliable, predictable, consistent. You were the rock they leaned on, the safety net they thought they'd never lose. Until one day, you weren't. When you disappear, it's like you hit them with a brick they never saw coming. You've heard the saying, you never know what you have until it's gone. That's exactly what they feel. They suddenly realize that the very presence they took for granted, the love, the validation, the constant availability, has been ripped away. But here's the difference. This isn't just a surface-level rejection, like being told no or being ignored once or twice. No, this is deeper. This is personal. It's a sting that cuts into their pride, their ego, their sense of control. Because let's be real, when someone knows you'll always be there, they start to treat you like an option. They get comfortable. They test boundaries. They throw you crumbs while you've been the one carrying the entire connection. And in their head, it's always been safe. You weren't going anywhere. But then you vanish. No warning, no goodbye, no explanation. And suddenly, the dynamic shifts completely. They panic. They feel rejected. And it's not just about you being gone, it's about what it means. It means they don't control you. It means they can't just snap their fingers and expect you to show up anymore. And that realization, that loss of control, it hits harder than they'd ever admit. That's why if you truly want them to feel this sting, you can't announce it. Don't threaten to leave. Don't give them an ultimatum. Don't beg for attention. Just go. Cold turkey. Silent. Ghosted. Because when you vanish without a single word, you force them to sit in the consequences of their own actions. You send a message louder than anything you could have said. I'm done being disrespected. And here's the beauty of it. You don't chase, you don't check in, you don't look back, you let them sit in the mess they created. And I promise you, when the sting of rejection hits, it hits in ways they never thought possible. The one they thought they had control over, the one they thought would always stay, that person is gone. And all they're left with now is regret. Stage 2, the void of missing you. Now here's where things get really interesting. Once the sting of rejection sinks in, they move into the second stage, the void. This is when they start to realize something they never expected, that life without you doesn't feel the same. See, in their mind, they probably told themselves that if you left, it wouldn't matter. Oh, if they walk away, I'll be fine. I'll move on. I don't need them, they convinced themselves they'd be unaffected. But when you actually disappear, that's when the truth smacks them in the face. Day by day, they start to notice it. That empty space where you used to be, the texts that don't come, the calls that never ring, the good mornings and good nights that suddenly don't exist anymore. And it's not just silence they feel, it's emptiness. It's a void that eats away at them, because whether they want to admit it or not, you brought something real into their life. You brought warmth, stability, energy, comfort. And without you, everything feels bland. They go through the same routines, but it doesn't feel the same. They hang out with the same people, but there's no spark. They go to bed at night, but it feels colder. And that's when it hits them. They miss you. Badly. But here's the thing. They're not just missing you. They're missing the version of themselves that existed when you were around. The validation, the comfort, the sense of importance they got from your presence. You leaving didn't just take you away, it stripped them of the feeling they had when you were there. And that's a void no one else can fill. You see, when someone takes you for granted, they start to assume you're just part of the background, like furniture in the room. Always there, always available, always the same. They convince themselves that the dynamic between you and them is easily replaceable. That if you're gone, they can simply swap you out with someone else and life will go on. But here's the cold truth. No one else brings what you brought into their life. They might try. They might go looking for someone new, chasing a distraction, diving into friendships, overworking themselves, or burying their time in hobbies. But deep down, no matter what they do, it's never the same, because you brought something unique. A presence, an energy, a rhythm that made their life lighter, easier, warmer, and more fulfilling. And once that's gone, the void only grows bigger. Day after day, it gnaws at them. At first, they'll deny it. They'll tell themselves they're fine, that they don't miss you, that they can move on. But as the days turn into weeks, the emptiness becomes impossible to ignore. And here's the cruel irony. They didn't value you when they had you. They thought they could do better. Or worse, they assumed you'd always be there. But the second you vanish, their perspective flips. Suddenly, they start craving all the little things. The conversations that made them feel understood, the laughter that broke up the monotony of their day, the way you made them feel seen in ways no one else could. It's the small, everyday moments that haunt them the most. And those moments, they're gone. Now listen closely. If you want this void to hit with full force, you can't give them easy access to you. You have to disappear completely. That means blocking them on social media, deleting their number, removing every doorway they could casually use to peek back into your life. Because the harder it is for them to find you, the deeper the void grows. Every time they think of you and reach for their phone, only to realize they can't reach you, it cuts deeper. Every time they search for you online and find nothing, the emptiness expands. Let them sit in that silence. Let them live with the absence, because people never truly appreciate what they have until it's gone. And now, they miss you. Desperately. Stage 3. Overwhelming curiosity. By this point, the sting of rejection has set in, the void is growing, and now the curiosity takes over. And it doesn't just creep in, it consumes them. The question racing through their mind day and night is simple. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? You've gone from someone they felt they controlled, someone predictable, to a complete mystery. And nothing is more unsettling than not knowing what's going on in the life of someone who used to be so close. In today's world, with social media at everyone's fingertips, this stage is amplified beyond belief. They'll check your Instagram, they'll check your Facebook, they'll refresh your TikTok, they'll even scroll through old photos or comments, desperately looking for clues. But here's the twist. You've gone completely dark. No updates, no posts, no stories, no status, nothing. And that silence, it drives them insane, because human beings hate the unknown. The moment you vanish, their mind starts spiraling with questions. Have you moved on? Are you seeing someone else? Are you happier without me? Their insecurities go into overdrive. They can't stand not knowing, so they start looking for answers anywhere they can. Maybe they reach out to mutual friends. Maybe they start lurking in places they think you might show up. They won't admit they care, but their actions will betray them. It's actually sad if you think about it. The same person who once treated you like an afterthought is now burning energy just to figure out what you're doing. But here's the psychological trap. When someone can't get answers, their mind fills in the blanks, and it always fills them with the worst-case scenario. They'll imagine you laughing with someone new. They'll picture you thriving, glowing, happier than ever without them. And those thoughts, they eat away at them day after day. Curiosity turns into obsession. And the less they know, the more they need to know. That's your power. Their curiosity is your weapon. So don't give them crumbs. Don't post subtle hints. Don't feed their obsession. Give them nothing but silence. Let them stew in their own imagination, because whatever story their mind creates will always hit harder than the truth. Stage 4, deep self-reflection. And now, we've reached dangerous territory for them. This is where the curiosity starts collapsing inward, and they're left with only one person to blame: themselves. After days, weeks, maybe even months of not knowing where you are or what you're doing, they finally stop looking outward and start turning inward. And that's when the self-reflection begins. The questions start to creep in. Was I too cold? Was I too distant? Did I push them away? Did I take too much and give too little? Did I ruin this? Regret starts to settle in like a weight they can't shake. And here's the hard truth. People hate admitting when they're wrong. It's human nature. Pride and ego will fight it at every step. But when you disappear, when there's no more reassurance, no more comfort, no more smoothing things over, they're left alone with their mistakes, and they're forced to confront them, head on. That mirror is brutal, and for the first time they begin to see the reality they were blind to when you were still around. They're left with no escape, no distractions, no excuses, just the deafening silence of their own thoughts. And let me tell you, silence can be louder than any argument. At first, they try to push it away. They turn on the TV. They scroll through their phone. They fill their schedule with meaningless activity, hoping the noise will drown it out. But the moment they stop moving, the moment the room gets quiet, it all comes flooding back. And that's when it starts, the replays. They start revisiting every conversation in their head. Every time you reached out and they ignored you. Every moment when you needed reassurance and they brushed you off. Every time they dismissed your feelings or made you feel like an afterthought. And now, with the clarity of hindsight, each one hits like a punch to the gut. It's brutal, because deep down they know the truth. They had a good thing, a rare thing, something that doesn't come around twice, and they destroyed it with their indifference. What makes this stage especially powerful is that it's internal. You're not there to argue. You're not there to explain. You're not there to soften the blow. They can't talk their way out of it. They can't spin the story to make themselves look like the victim. They can't shift the blame onto you. No, the mirror is clear now, and the only face staring back at them is their own. So the questions begin. Was I too cold? Was I selfish? Did I push them away? Did I even try? The regret builds with every passing day, like a weight pressing down on their chest, making it harder and harder to breathe. At night, when they try to sleep, they toss and turn. because that's when the what ifs show up. What if I had treated them better? What if I had put in more effort? What if I had appreciated them when I had the chance? It becomes a cycle, an endless loop of reflection and regret that eats away at their peace. And here's where it gets even darker. They start wishing they could go back in time. They fantasize about rewinding the clock, about doing it differently, about fixing the damage before it was too late. But the reality is harsh and unforgiving. Time doesn't rewind. What's broken doesn't just magically heal, and that realization cuts deeper than anything else. And here's the crucial part. You cannot step in here. You cannot explain why you left. You cannot offer them closure or make them see their mistakes. Because the moment you do, the pressure lifts, the lesson is lost, and they escape the very discomfort that was forcing them to grow. Self-reflection only has power when it happens in isolation. So let them sit in it. Let them feel every ounce of that guilt, every sting of regret, every wave of realization. Because in this stage, the pain they feel isn't punishment, it's a teacher. A harsh, relentless, but necessary teacher. And the longer they sit with it, the clearer the truth becomes. They didn't lose you by accident. They lost you because of themselves. Stage 5, the urge to pursue you. After days, maybe weeks of sitting in their own guilt and regret, something shifts inside them. The reflection turns into restlessness. The guilt turns into longing. And before they even realize it, they're hit with an urge they can't fight, the overwhelming urge to pursue you. And this is where the tables completely turn. Remember how it used to be? You were the one holding things together. You were the one who reached out, who cared, who pursued, who put in the effort to keep the connection alive. But now, that role has been ripped away from them, and they feel the imbalance. Suddenly, they're the ones pacing around with their phone in their hand, wondering if they should text you. They're the ones typing out a message, deleting it, rewriting it, and still not hitting send because they're terrified of how you might respond, or worse, that you won't respond at all. It starts small. A random, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." A like on one of your old Instagram posts from months ago, hoping you'll notice. Maybe a casual comment under a picture, as if nothing happened. And when none of that works, they might get bolder. A late-night message sent after a few drinks, when their guard is down and their emotions are raw, hoping that vulnerability will pull you back in. They might even try to engineer accidental encounters, showing up where they know you might be, asking mutual friends about you, then suddenly running into you somewhere. It's desperation dressed up as coincidence. But here's what they don't realize. You hold all the power now. See, the urge to pursue you doesn't come from love alone. It comes from panic, from the realization that the dynamic has changed forever. For the first time, they're not in control. They can't predict you. They can't rely on you being there. And that loss of control gnaws at them day and night, and they want you back. But not just for the relationship itself. They want back the version of themselves that felt secure because you were always there. They're chasing not only you, but the comfort, the validation, and the emotional safety net you used to provide. And here's where many people get caught in the trap. They see the pursuit as proof. Proof that the person has changed. Proof that they've realized your value. Proof that maybe things could work again. But don't be fooled. The chase is about them, not you. It's about easing their discomfort, not about honoring your worth. That's why your silence here is more powerful than any words you could say. Every time they reach out and you don't respond, the desperation grows. Every time they try to bait you with a like, a comment, or a late-night message, and you don't bite, the frustration deepens. Because here's the truth. When someone takes you for granted, the only way they truly feel your value is when you no longer reward their behavior. And in this stage, rewarding their pursuit by responding even just once hands the power back to them. It tells them the dynamic hasn't really changed, but your silence, That keeps the power exactly where it belongs, with you. So let them pursue. Let them chase. Let them burn with the frustration of wanting something they can no longer have. Let them feel what it's like to be on the other side, where effort is met with silence and energy is poured into a void. Because every unanswered message, every ignored attempt, every fruitless chase teaches them the same lesson, louder and louder each time. They lost you. And the more they pursue, the more that truth sinks in. Stage 6, the battle between relief and regret. When you first disappear, they might actually feel a flicker of relief. Strange, right? But this is human nature. At the very beginning, it feels like freedom to them. They tell themselves, finally, I don't have to deal with their complaints anymore. I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to feel pressured or guilty. They may even convince themselves they're better off without you. They celebrate their so-called independence. They go out with friends, swipe through dating apps, laugh louder at parties, and for a moment it feels good. It feels easy. But here's the truth about that kind of freedom. It's an illusion. Because freedom without meaning, without connection, without depth, always collapses into emptiness. At first, it's intoxicating, like a sugar high. They dive into distractions to avoid the reality of your absence. New faces, new flings, casual conversations that feel exciting for a night, but fade into nothing by morning. They keep themselves busy because busy means they don't have to think. But busy only lasts so long. And when the noise dies down, when the crowd goes home, when the phone stops buzzing, they're left with silence. And that's when it hits. The regret creeps in like a shadow that won't leave. Sitting alone in their apartment, scrolling through their phone, they realize something. That freedom they were celebrating, it feels empty. It feels hollow. The people they thought could replace you don't bring the same depth, the same energy, the same grounding presence you brought into their life. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. At first, it feels like it quenches the need. But the more they drink, the thirstier, more dehydrated, and more desperate they become. And in today's world, this illusion is everywhere. Casual dating, hookup culture, the idea that people are disposable, that one connection can be swapped for another. They fall into that trap, thinking they can replace you with the swipe of a finger. But it doesn't work. Because here's the truth. You can't replace someone who gave you genuine stability and emotional depth with a quick fling or a surface-level distraction. The gap is too wide. The contrast is too sharp. And that realization crushes them. At first, they'll try to fight it. They'll deny it to themselves. They'll tell their friends they're fine. They'll put on a smile, post pictures of themselves living their best life, trying to prove to the world and to themselves that they don't care. But late at night, when the mask comes off, when it's just them and their thoughts, the regret is unavoidable. They start to realize that in chasing this illusion of freedom, they've actually chained themselves to emptiness. They miss the comfort of your presence. The small things, the way you checked in, the way you made them feel seen, the way you grounded their life in ways they didn't even notice until you were gone. And the worst part? They can't go back. They can't undo the choices that led here. The relief they once felt fades away completely, and all that's left is regret. Heavy, suffocating regret. And you don't step back in. You don't rush to comfort them. You don't offer them an easy out from the emptiness. Because they need to sit in that regret. They need to feel it fully, because only when the temporary relief burns out, only when the distractions stop working, do they finally understand the truth. They didn't lose you for freedom. They lost you to their own foolishness. And that regret will haunt them far longer than any illusion of freedom ever could. Stage 7, the desire to play the game. By now, the sting has set in, the void has grown, the curiosity has eaten at them, the regret has taken root. And with all of that comes a creeping sense of panic. They're losing control, and they know it. And when people feel like they're losing control, when they can't win you back through honesty, vulnerability, or genuine connection, many of them turn to the next best thing: manipulation. They start trying to play the game. This stage is one of the most telling because it exposes just how desperate they've become. Instead of facing their feelings head-on, instead of admitting their mistakes, they reach for strategies and tactics, trying to trick you into giving them back the power they lost. So what does this look like? It starts with subtle moves. They might start acting distant on purpose, trying to flip the script and make you wonder where they've gone. They might intentionally delay responses if you ever did reach out, hoping to spark insecurity in you. They think, if I can make them jealous, if I can make them chase me, then maybe I'll feel in control again. Then it escalates. Suddenly, their social media is filled with carefully curated performances. Pictures with people they don't really care about, but want you to see. Captions designed to send a message. Cryptic quotes about moving on or starting fresh. Maybe even selfies that try a little too hard because behind the lens they're not happy. They're panicking. It's all one giant illusion, carefully staged to make you wonder. Are they really happier without me? Have they really moved on? Did they find someone better? And here's the key. They don't actually care about those people they're posting with. They don't even care about the appearance of moving on. What they care about is your reaction. They're desperate for it. Because if you react, if you get jealous, if you reach out, if you confront them about what you see, then they win. They get the validation that they still matter to you, that they still have some grip on your emotions, that despite everything, they can still pull you back into the game. But here's the shift. You're not playing anymore. You've outgrown the game. You've seen through the tactics, the bait, the fake displays. You understand that true connection isn't built on jealousy or manipulation, and you're not going to waste your energy on cheap performances. And that's what drives them even more insane, because their attempts fall flat. They post, they pose, they plot, and nothing happens. No reaction from you, no spark, no validation, just silence. The harder they try to play, the more obvious their desperation becomes. The mask slips, and what's left underneath isn't strength or confidence. It's fear. Fear that they really did lose you. Fear that they're no longer in control. Fear that the games that used to work don't mean anything to you anymore. And here's the irony. By trying to make you jealous, they only expose how much they still care. By pretending to move on, they only prove that they haven't. By playing games, they show they've already lost. Meanwhile, you stay silent, unmoved, detached, because you understand the truth. Someone who truly values you doesn't need to manipulate you to get your attention. So let them play, let them post, let them stage their little performances, because every game they try to play, every tactic they reach for, only highlights one undeniable fact: you're not chasing anymore. And without your participation, their game is nothing but an empty show. You see, people always think manipulation works. They think that by making you jealous, by playing hard to get, or by throwing little hints and games your way, they'll somehow lure you back in. They believe that if they dangle just enough bait, you'll bite. And maybe in the past you did. Maybe before, you cared so much that every cryptic comment, every sudden change in tone, every exaggerated post online would have gotten under your skin. Maybe once upon a time you would have chased, but not anymore. Because when you've stopped chasing, when you've grown tired of the games and finally decided your peace matters more than their drama, something shifts. They lose the very leverage they've been depending on, so they double down. They'll throw everything at you. The subtle digs, meant to sting but never said outright. The passive-aggressive comments disguised as jokes. The exaggerated pictures with new people, posted with captions that are clearly written for your eyes, not anyone else's. But none of it works. Not anymore. Because you're not reacting. You're not giving them the attention they crave. You're not stepping back onto the chessboard they set up. And that, my friend, is what drives them absolutely mad. When someone thrives on manipulation, attention is their oxygen. And when you cut it off, when you give them nothing, not even a flinch, the panic sets in. Suddenly, their tactics that once worked so easily are powerless. They're swinging wildly, trying everything they can, but none of it lands. And the more you ignore, the more frantic they become. You see, their game only works if you play. The cryptic posts only matter if you click. The jealousy traps only work if you take the bait. The passive-aggressive comments only sting if you respond. But when you don't, when you stay unshaken, silent, unmoved, that's when they realize they've lost control. And the truth is, there's nothing scarier to a manipulator than realizing they no longer hold power over you. So don't engage. Don't give them the satisfaction. Let their posts fade into the void. Let their tactics bounce off you like they never existed. Because the moment you stop responding is the moment they feel the walls closing in. It's the moment they realize they're flailing, grasping for control they'll never have again. Stage 8, the crushing weight of silence. Silence. At first glance, it doesn't look like much. No words, no replies, no explanations, just nothing. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use. Stronger than shouting, stronger than arguing, stronger than explaining yourself 1,000 times. Because silence is not empty. Silence is full. It's full of all the things they don't want to face. It's full of their guilt, their regret, their insecurities. And when you take your voice away, when you remove your words, your calls, your texts, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts echoing back at them. And that echo is unbearable. At first, they don't understand it. They expect you to break. They've always relied on you to reach out, to ask what's wrong, to demand answers, to start the conversation. In their mind, the silence is temporary. Any minute now, they'll call. Any minute, they'll text. Any minute, they'll come running back. But the minutes turn into hours. The hours turn into days. And with each passing moment, the silence grows heavier. They check their phone constantly, refreshing notifications, hoping for a buzz that never comes. They scroll through your old conversations, reading messages you sent them when you still cared, trying to relive what they've lost. They type out a text to you, then delete it, then retype it, then delete it again. Because the silence has them second-guessing everything. Every minute without your voice feels like a year. And here's the thing. Silence isn't just absence. It's a mirror. It forces them to look at themselves, to hear the echoes of the times they ignored your calls, the moments they brushed off your feelings, the days they assumed you'd always be there. Now all of that comes back louder than ever, amplified by the void you've left behind. We live in a world of constant noise. Texts, calls, notifications, updates, endless streams of information. People are addicted to instant communication, to instant gratification. And when you break that pattern, when you withhold the very thing they've become addicted to, you don't just create space, you create panic. Because silence is unpredictable. Silence forces them to wonder, are they gone for good? Are they with someone else? Do they even think about me anymore? Their mind becomes their worst enemy. The more they don't hear from you, the louder their inner voice becomes. And that voice is merciless. It tells them they've messed up. It tells them you've moved on. It tells them they may never get you back. That's why silence is so powerful. Because when you argue, they can argue back. When you explain, they can deny. When you confront, they can deflect. But when you go silent, there's nothing to fight, nothing to push against, nothing to manipulate, just quiet, just emptiness, just the deafening weight of your absence. And the longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes for them. At first it's discomfort, then it's anxiety, then it's dread, until finally it's crushing, a suffocating awareness that they've lost access to something they thought would always be there. So don't break it, don't explain yourself, don't rush back in to ease their discomfort. Let them feel it. Let them live inside the silence they created when they took you for granted. Because soon, they'll realize something they never thought possible. Losing your voice, losing your presence, losing the access to you is far worse than any argument you could have ever had. Stage 9. The fear that brings them crawling back. If silence is heavy, fear is crushing, and this stage is where it all comes crashing down. This is the moment they never thought they'd face, the moment where the games, the pride, the ego all fall away, and they're left with something far more primal, the sheer terror of losing you forever. For the longest time, they were comfortable. They believed you'd always be there. They assumed that no matter how much they neglected you, ignored you, or brushed you aside, you'd still be waiting. You'd always answer, you'd always come back. They treated your presence like a guarantee, like a subscription they didn't have to pay for, like something permanent. But now that illusion has been shattered, and when reality sinks in, fear grabs them by the throat. It doesn't creep in slowly, it slams into them all at once. The thought, what if I lost them for good? The panic, what if they've moved on? What if they've found someone better? What if they're laughing with someone else right now, building memories with someone else, giving their energy to someone who actually values it? That thought alone is enough to make their stomach twist, their chest tighten, their hands shake. Because suddenly, they're forced to picture life without you, not just temporarily, but permanently, and it makes them sick. See, fear is a powerful motivator, and when it takes over, it drives them to do things they swore they'd never do, things that expose just how desperate they really are. They'll reach out, they'll apologize, they'll beg. You might see long, drawn-out paragraphs of texts filled with emotions they should have shared months ago. Words like, "I didn't appreciate you when I had you. I realize now how much you meant to me. I was wrong. I can change. Please just give me another chance." They'll pour their heart out, trying to convince you they've finally woken up, finally seen your worth, finally realized the mistakes they made. Some might even push further. Unexpected calls, unannounced visits, showing up in places they know you might be, hoping to bump into you, hoping to force a conversation. They'll start to blur the line between persistence and desperation, all fueled by the fear of losing you forever. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. By the time they get here, it's already too late. Because while they were busy taking you for granted, you were busy evolving. You were busy rebuilding your strength, reclaiming your independence, and learning how to stand without them. They're finally waking up to what they had but you. You've already outgrown the need for them. Their fear is real, yes. The panic, the desperation, the regret, it's all genuine. But genuine fear doesn't mean genuine change. Fear doesn't equal love. Fear doesn't erase the pain they caused. Fear doesn't rewrite history. And here's where you stand tall. When they come crawling back, when they beg for another chance, when they try to use fear as a key to unlock the door they closed themselves, you don't let them back in. Because they need to learn the final, most brutal lesson. That you are not an option. You are not a fallback. You are not someone who can be taken for granted and then reclaimed at will. You've moved on, you've chosen yourself, and by the time fear finally catches up to them, you're already gone. And that realization, that's the fear that never leaves them. Stage 10, the realization of emotional independence. This is where everything comes full circle. This is the stage that isn't about them at all. It's about you. Because when you disappear, when you walk away, it's not just about removing yourself from their life. It's about stepping fully into your own. It's about reclaiming something you may have forgotten you had all along, your emotional independence. See, in so many relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or even family dynamics, we get caught in a cycle of proving our worth, of bending over backwards to make the other person happy, of pouring energy into keeping the connection alive while starving ourselves of the same care. And over time, without even noticing it, we tie our happiness to them, their moods, their approval, their attention, their validation. But when you vanish, when you finally walk away, you break that cycle. You start to see things clearly. You begin to understand that your worth was never meant to be measured by their treatment of you. That your value doesn't rise and fall with whether or not they notice you. That your happiness isn't chained to someone else's presence in your life. And that realization, it's freedom. You no longer crave their attention. You no longer care about their approval. You no longer obsess over what they think, how they feel, or whether they're happy without you. Because you finally learned the most powerful truth. You don't need them to feel complete. That's emotional independence. It's the shift from chasing to choosing, from needing to knowing, from waiting for someone else to validate you to finally validating yourself. And here's the part that makes this stage so powerful. They feel it too. They can sense it. They can see that you're not the same person they once knew. You're stronger now, sharper, more confident. You've evolved, and it shows. While they're still stuck in their old patterns, chasing, manipulating, playing games, you've moved forward into a place they can't touch. And that's when the tables turn for good. Because they no longer have power over you. Their opinion, their attention, their affection, none of it holds weight anymore. You've outgrown them. You've broken free from the cycle that once trapped you. And now, their approval means nothing. This is the ultimate victory. Not making them miss you, not making them regret losing you, not making them chase you, though all of that may happen along the way. The ultimate win is standing in your own independence, unshaken, untouchable, unbothered. So own it. Don't go back to the old ways. Don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they still have control over your happiness, because they don't. Not anymore. You've claimed something far more valuable than their love, their presence, or their attention. You've claimed yourself. And that is the final, undeniable proof that you've won. If you're still here hearing these words, it means you're ready for freedom, the kind that comes from within. So type emotional independence in the comments. Let it be your reminder that you no longer need validation because your strength is already yours. Remember, only you decide how limitless you are.